Told sister-in-law she should have kept her legs closed if she didn't want needy kids. My older brother has a lot of step-kids. His wife, Tori, has 2 kids from her first marriage, then a son, Liam 15 from a random hookup, and 1 more kid from a long-term relationship. My brother has a daughter as well. From what he tells me, Liam is the only one without an active dad and the only one that lives with them full-time, as my biological niece primarily stays with her mom. I assumed Liam living with them full-time meant he would get quite a bit of attention, but my niece told me that they all seem to forget about him. She has told me that her stepmom once said that Liam is the extra and not as cute as her other kids. Apparently it was a joke. Anyways, Tori invited the whole family over for dinner. At one point they told us all to gather round and Tori told us she's pregnant. Everyone started cheering. I'll admit, I was too. But my niece drew my attention to Liam, who started crying and walked off. Niece and I followed him, and when I asked him if everything was okay, he started crying in my arms. I felt so terrible. My niece then took him out for ice cream to cheer him up while I went back to the others. They were all very preoccupied, and my brother started talking to one of our nephews, not Tori's kids. This nephew then tells us that while he did not make a team, Liam did. My brother was quite surprised because he's a huge fan of this sport, and had no clue Liam was interested, as he always thought he was a quieter, nerdy kid. This nephew sorta laughed and said Liam is not a quiet, nerdy kid, the opposite actually. He's very popular at school. After finishing his conversation with the nephew, he approached me and said maybe nephew's confused, Liam's not that type of kid. I asked him what kind of kid he thinks Liam is. My brother said that he doesn't talk to Liam much, but according to Tori, he's socially awkward, sensitive, and a little needy. Tori overheard and was like, Liam, is he bothering you? Next time he tries to talk to you, run, or else he'll never leave you alone. He really is needy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, especially after how much Liam cried earlier. I told Tori and my brother that they should be ashamed of themselves. I then specifically told Tori that she should have kept her legs closed if she didn't want needy children. Obviously my brother kicked me out, which I deserved. But Tori is furious and keeps sending me messages about how rude I am and how I don't know anything about her, etc. I even got yelled at by my mom. I sincerely believe they're all F in the head. AITA. Update: Tori has 4 kids. The 2 eldest have the same dad, who is very involved. Liam's dad is a deadbeat, and the 4th child has a different but also very involved dad. My niece, my brother's kid, and the new baby, my brother and Tori's kid, make the total number of kids 6. I just realized how terrible the formatting is. I apologize and hope this clears it up. I am not giving my brother a free pass. I believe he's a F idiot, and the fact that he doesn't know S about his stepson is terrible. Yes, I yelled at Tori mostly because she's the one who kept calling her own son needy. She's the one who told me to run away from him if he talks to me. That is why I yelled at her specifically. AITA for laughing at my sister-in-law and telling her I have zero desire to raise her child. I, 44 female, am married to my hubby, Jimmy, 48 male, for over 2 decades. My parents died suddenly in a car accident 10 years ago. I have a younger sister, Abigail, 39 female, with Down syndrome, and Jimmy and I are guardians. Abigail is my sweet angel on earth. When my parents passed, I was a working mother of 3 young kids, helping to build our family business with my husband. At first, Abigail lived with us full-time. Jimmy has always been at my side with her care and loves her to bits. After a few months we realized that my sister needed more attention than we could give her. There was just not enough time in the day. We discussed what would be best for her and decided to put her into a private adult home for special needs people. It's very costly, over $10K a month, and comes from our own finances. The facility does all sorts of activities and field trips. She loves her home, her friends, and the special days the facility hosts. We are always stopping by to either visit, sign her out on holidays to spend with family, keep her overnight for special sleepovers with my kids, and take her on every vacation with us. We never go more than 24 hours without one of us making sure she's okay. Now onto the issue. I have a sister-in-law, Jenny, 42 female, who had her first child after years of trying. She's become the typical first-time mom who believes she invented motherhood, and is openly opinionated about things she believes other parents fall short on. I mostly ignore her, and so does Jimmy. We hosted a BBQ at my house for Labor Day with my father-in-law, mother-in-law, Jenny, her husband, baby, and my kids. Abigail had a planned trip to the zoo and asked if she could go. Of course, we said okay. While we were eating, Jenny turned to me and asked me where Abigail was. Her tone was more accusatory than questioning. I simply didn't want to get into it with Jenny, so I said Abigail wanted to stay at the home. Jenny then turned to her hubby and said, "See, this is why it won't ever happen." My mother-in-law asked Jenny what she was talking about. Jenny, all snarky, said to the whole table, "We did our wills last week and knew these 2 wouldn't be suitable as guardians of our baby if something happened to us. They tossed her sister into a home rather than be real family to her. I won't let that happen to my child. I didn't let it show, but I was extremely hurt she could say this. Instead of yelling, I laughed at her and said, "Well, that's great news since I have zero desire to raise your kid." More was said, but that's the gist of it. Jenny left with her family calling me nasty swear words as she walked out. I might have said a few swear words myself right back at her. It's been over a month now and Jimmy is still getting nasty texts from Jenny demanding I apologize. My mother-in-law knows she overstepped with her comment but is asking me to be the bigger person and say sorry to keep the peace. I refuse. AITA. AITA for explaining to my kids that their half-brother feeling the way he does is sometimes part of life. My husband and I are raising 3 kids. My husband was married before me and he has a son, Cole 16 from his first marriage. Cole's mom died 11 years ago and my husband and I met 9 years ago and married 7 years ago. Together my husband and I have a daughter Freya 6 and Theo 5. Cole has never really accepted me as family or the kids. He's not unkind but disinterested in us, but especially the kids. It's not that he doesn't like kids. He's great with other kids. Cole was in therapy after his mom died and we did family therapy together before my husband and I married. He never spoke against the marriage or us having kids, but he's not very warm toward us either. It really shows with the kids more because they really want to be closer to him. They want him to take the same interest in them as he does in other kids. They have seen him with his friends' much younger siblings and with young cousins and with kids in the neighborhood. My husband and I don't push too hard. I will take Cole to pick up a video game every few weeks because he loves gaming and I ask him questions about the games he enjoys as a way of trying to bond. We also go to arcades, the pool and we go for walks all together. Yesterday I was taking the kids to a Halloween party and Freya asked me why Cole doesn't like them and I asked what she meant. She said she asked why he likes other kids more than them and he told her they don't have the same mom. Theo didn't really understand most of it but Freya understood enough to be upset. She was crying and Theo was confused more than anything. This all came up because Freya wanted to show off her costume to Cole but he wasn't interested. Yet he does show interest in other kids' costumes. I told him sometimes, when a kid ends up with their parents no longer together, and they fight a lot or when a kid loses their mommy or daddy young like Cole lost his mommy, it means they find it hard to let some people into their heart. That Cole lost his mommy and it made it harder for him to feel about us the way we feel about him. Freya said her best friend has a sister who has a different dad but she loves her. I told her it doesn't happen all of the time and sometimes it gets better but that how Cole feels does happen at times and all we can do is try to accept it and respect the way he feels. I also told him it was not their fault at all. My husband wasn't home at the time but when he did I told him what happened. His parents were also home because they wanted to see the kids all dressed up. They heard what I told my husband and they told me I should never have said that to the kids because I should know Cole isn't being fully honest when he says things about not loving them and I will make the kids think it's true when they're so little and too young to really understand the complexities and I made it so black and white for them. My husband told his parents they needed to leave, but they called me a bad mom before they left. AITA. AITA for telling my grandmother off when she brought up the fact that I'm not married with children yet. I 24 female am unmarried, with no children. Frankly, I don't have the most positive attitude towards marriage given how I've seen men treat my girlfriends and the women in my family, and I don't even think motherhood is for me. Now my grandmother is one of those people who are super old school, different times, I know, and my mom likes to remind me that she was already married and managing a household when she was my age, especially when I make mistakes. For my mom I brush the comment off but I tell my grandmother straight up not to bring up the subject of marriage with me and that I am not interested. Today I served my grandma food and she was complaining about the presentation of the food. She was telling me you eat with your eyes first. Is this how you will serve your husband food when you get married? To which I got mad and replied I don't want to hear marriage advice from a woman who got cheated on dozens of times and stayed while blaming everyone else but the man who owed her loyalty. You wishing for me to get married is you wishing me pain and suffering. Grandma got mad and wouldn't speak to me. My mom and dad said I was out of line, my siblings said she had it coming. AITA.